Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Jim K. Ford Sens Nation Podcast. Oh boy, things are a little less gloomy today. Sens close out their homestand with 3 of a possible 4 points in their last 2. They go 2-1-1 for the homestand. And yeah, things are a little brighter in Ottawa these days as we kick off another episode of the show. Thank you for being with us, ladies and gentlemen. Before I forget, please hit like, subscribe, all the good things that help the podcast grow. Gregg, how are you today?
I'm good, Stephen. I'm looking forward to this evening. Game 1, World Series. Can't wait.
And we got some Bo Bichette action happening. Boom, he's playing.
Baby. Yeah, yep. I don't know if he's going to play or not. Well, it remains to be seen, I guess, whether he's actually going to play in the field or simply DH or DH or even just pinch hit duties. Who knows? We'll find out tonight, though. This is going to be pretty exciting. The World Series returns to Toronto. I can't wait. It's going to be good.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, I mean, maybe for sure he's on the roster. That gives him a chance, and I'm predicting a Kirk Gibson moment at some point. I'm telling you what.
Okay, all right.
Limping around the bases after a big home run on one leg. Oh, it's going to be great. But you called it. They were down last time we did an episode. They were down by a game in the series, and they won the last 2 like they had to, and so off we go to the World Series for the first time since 1993. Yes?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Unbelievable. That was the last time a Canadian team won a Stanley Cup. And, well, I've said here on the show, the Sens are going to be Stanley Cup contenders, and was starting to feel a little bit sheepish about that. But last couple of games, last 3 games, really. I mean, that Islander game was certainly a winnable one. Mm-hmm. I guess the concern I have, and the Philadelphia Flyers, to me, don't look like a very good hockey team. The Sens basically had to, play great defense, get good goaltending in the last game. They win 2-1 over the Flyers. I think my ongoing concern with this team right now is that even when they play great, they're just not getting the guys finishing enough to put teams away.
Yeah, especially you watch Philly come in here, you think, okay, this is a game they should win, and they did. And we shouldn't be nitpicking, but we are, right? They don't score enough still, and it's going to get frustrating and more if it doesn't get fixed somehow. And I don't know what the solution is. We've bantied it about on here, but yeah, I expect a little more than 2 goals against Philly. Really expect it came down to Linus Ullmark. Really, if it wasn't for Ullmark, I don't know that they would have won the game. Like, he made some big stops and kept them in the game all night long. And in a game where you outshoot a weaker opposition and can't outscore them, it's a good thing the goalie showed up.
Yeah, it was some people giving him some grief for that first goal, and I did too. It's kind of a long shot, 29 seconds into the game, seconds into the game against the Flyers. I think it was Tyson Forster with it, and it didn't look great initially. But for starters, you had Michael Amadio maybe taking away the eyes a little bit. But even after that, I slowed it down, and it looked like the puck, based on what it did after it passed Jake Sanderson, it looked like it may have caromed off him as well and just shot upward into the top left corner to beat him there. So it's possible that it wasn't the bad goal that Frankie Corrado and everybody on the TSN panel were talking about. Generally speaking, you can do that, though. If that's going to be your only blemish and you only allow 1 goal, whether it was a good one or a bad one, that will do just nicely moving forward. And on the goaltending front, I guess what happened was pretty much what we expected to happen with Linus Ullmark. With Levi Merilainen. He goes down to the minors kind of surprisingly last Sunday, plays a couple of games, one not that good. He allowed 5 goals on 40 shots, but then in Laval in a 6-2 victory, got his first pro W of the year, and the Sens immediately call him up and send Mads Søgaard back down. So really, no surprise there.
Exactly. I mean, that's what we were talking about. You've got they're in Washington Saturday night. They're home Monday night, but then in Chicago Tuesday night. So I'd be looking for Merilainen to probably play at least one of them, and I would think the Chicago game, like Ullmark can no doubt go. Yeah, I think he can go Saturday in Washington. He can come home and play on Monday. That's no big stressor on him. But I would think that Merilainen is probably getting Tuesday night in Chicago, and hopefully that's a game that Senators don't take lightly. Chicago's not a great team, but hopefully they don't take it lightly. They have no right to take anybody lightly at this point. And Merilainen deserves to have their best effort in front of him, and I think he'll come through on Tuesday night in Chicago.
Yeah, I think you make a good point there about not taking anyone lightly. And I think that the Sens are keeping this, these last couple of improved games, they're taking it in stride. They're treating it the right way. It's a process, right? When you're
Mhm.
losing, you can't get too down. When you win a couple or get three of a possible 4 points, you can't go, oh, we're all fixed now. Now that Claude Giroux had a good clip, something along the lines of, yeah, okay, we're happy with today, but we have a long way to go still. This is just a step. And they really do seem to be treating it like a process, which is a good sign because I think we've all, as Sens fans and Sens observers, we've all become experts on the slow starts that this team has had
Yeah.
over the years, going back to the DJ Smith time. Last year wasn't so bad. And this year, kind of very small sample size, but a bit sketchy as well. It just feels to me like this team isn't really thinking about outcomes. They're thinking exclusively about the process. And Giroux's comment there kind of drove it home for me.
Yeah, the goaltending has gotten better. The PK went 3 for 3 against Philly. There's a little less Dow Jones to the game, not so much up and down anymore. Yeah, the key to the Senators is consistency of performance, night in, night out, shift in, shift out. It sounds cliched, but that's what's required for this team to be successful. They need to play their game, and we all saw their game for large chunks of last season. We just haven't quite seen it for 60 minutes yet this season. The Philly game was a real good step in the right direction. That looks like, okay, the Edmonton game wasn't all that bad either. Pretty good effort there. So maybe they are getting closer and closer to their true selves, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah, I'd agree. There are some issues, though. There are some good performances, but there are some guys on this team right now that kind of make you scratch your head a little bit. And two I want to focus on here are Fabian Zetterlund and Nick Jensen. We'll begin with Zetterlund. He has one assist. He has 0 goals and 1 assist in, 8 games now.
Mhm.
And at $4.25 million a year for the next 3 years, that's a long way from being good enough. Like not even in the same time zone as being good enough.
Yeah.
Do you think he starts producing at some point, or are you gravely concerned?
I thought he looked really good in Philly, playing on a line with Lixell and Eller. I thought that was quite possibly one of his best games of the season. There was a bad clip, a little package of highlights that Mike Johnson showed the one intermission, or was it Freddie Corrado? One of them showed some clips of Zetterlund that didn't look good, but I thought that was his best game this season, or at least the most productive looking game of the season. And then you look at the end of the night, you look at the stats, and the three of them had like 3 and 4 shifts each in the third period. Those 3 guys didn't play very much, but that's the best he's looked all year, I thought. He just needs to. Is it one of those cases where he's going to get 1 and then 2 and then 3? It's going to come from there. I think that might be it. He's generally tries to fire pucks on net. He understands that. He goes to the net hard. He always finishes checks. It's just a matter of time. I'm sticking with it's just a matter of time before Fabian Zetterlund turns a corner here.
Yeah, I know the clips, the highlight package they're putting together, and it was quite critical. Frankie Corrado and Paul McLean on the TSN panel at the intermission, they were basically suggesting he wasn't fit, which I find really odd for someone to say when that guy spends as much time in the gym. Now, we've only seen the strength training that he does. Maybe there's a lack of cardio. I don't know, but it's also possible he was completely at the end of a shift. So it's hard to say for sure. But, you talk about his number of shifts. He actually, I looked at the stats. He only had 9 shifts in that entire hockey game.
Yeah.
9. And I just don't, if you're hoping that guy gets going offensively, and certainly I don't think the organization's going to give up on him after just 8 games, even though he didn't particularly put up the numbers last year. He's now, having said that, you had a pretty nice goal that was scored by Lixell, his first as a Senator, and he was not in on it, Zetterlund. But that said, he's not going to get you $4.25 million a year level production if you continue to truck him out on that fourth line.
Yeah, 9 shifts ain't cutting it.
No.
But as he's sort of gone down, I was a little critical of Nick Cousins earlier. He looked really good playing with Perron and Gregg. I thought Nick Cousins had some of the best games I've seen him play as a Senator. His last 2 games, still takes the bad penalty 200 feet from the net and looks around like, "Ooh, what? Who, me?" He still takes those bad penalties, but I thought that's probably hurting Fabian Zetterlund as well. So Nick Cousins moves up, so you move down, and Cousins is playing well. But yeah, you're right. He's got to play more than 9 shifts a night. Otherwise, you really can't be critical of his production when he plays 12 minutes, right? It's very difficult to justify, oh, you're not producing. Well, the standard argument is, well, I don't get much of an opportunity here. In his case, he's got a case like he really doesn't get that much of an opportunity, did not get that much of an opportunity against Philly.
Yeah, it'll be keen to see whether they stick with this. Again, there's always going to be a pressure on a head coach when the GM basically anoints a guy as a top 6 player by the contract that he gives him. There's always going to be that pressure for him to succeed because it makes the GM look bad. It's the whole Moneyball thing, right? About, Billy Bean wanted Art Howe to start a certain guy, Scott Hatterberg in this case, wanted him to start at first. The manager disagreed, and so it can be a little bit of friction that starts if the coach is doing something that, in a backhanded way, makes the GM's decision to spend all this money on this player look bad. But yeah, I mean, I think that it really does look in the early going like they're doing what they say they're going to do. We talk about it being a process, but we've also talked about it, and as have the Sens, we've also talked about it in terms of, and I'm losing my train of thought here. What was it?
It's a meritocracy.
The meritocracy, exactly the word I was going to say. And, and you're seeing it right now to the point where, okay, we've got Brady Tkachuk out of the lineup. This team's scuffling right now. We can't screw around here and just hope that guys turn around. We've got to give the opportunities and the minutes and the line mates and the opportunities to the guys who are out there earning it and executing the way we want to. And that is why I think overall why Zetterlund is a 4th-line hockey player right now.
Yeah, and hopefully, the team results get them on a bit of a roll. And if you get on a roll, you start winning more. When you're winning more, you're usually in more comfortable positions in the third period. Some more ice time, some equal distribution amongst the 4 lines, which is really what Travis Green wants anyway. Things change in a hurry when the Dow is up versus the Dow Jones is down, right? When things are going well, everybody plays, and then everybody gets an opportunity to contribute. So maybe we're being a little critical after 8 games. The sample size isn't big enough yet, I think, to start nitpicking on certain players. Maybe.
Agreed. Yep. I mean, it's if you're going to talk about the team in terms of it's early, it's not time to hit the panic button. And that's kind of where I was at. You have to afford the individuals the same luxury. So one other lineup situation, which I find interesting, is Tim Stutzla being moved to the left wing with Dylan Cousins being moved up to the top line. And I think it's Batherson. Yeah, Batherson's on the right side with that. What do you think about Stutzla being moved to the wing?
Well, that's interesting, right? Okay, our number 1 left winger has gone down. Who's going to take his place? It turns out the number 1 center is going to take his place. That's kind of an interesting answer. But they kind of got thrown together late in the game and scored twice. It was the Islander game, right, where they kind of got together for the first time as a line and had some success. So, okay, leave them together. It helps that Shane Pinto is playing as well as he is. Scoring at will, it seems. So Shane Pinto can easily, we all know, can play your 2nd-line center spot and can play with some more skilled players. I always liked Pinto with Giroux. I think that's a great pair there. So I think that so far it's working. Like you just wish you had. Well, I mean, this team is always, there's no 45, 50 goal scorer. There's no superstar, right? Like they've got good players, they've got stars, but they don't have a superstar. You just wish you had somebody else who is on the roster that you could point to and say, yep, that's the 40 goal guy. That we're okay. We can lose Brady and we're okay, because it's kind of tough when you've got a lot of guys that are the same sort of player. When you lose Brady, it's kind of tough for somebody to elevate and step up and do something. So in that case, it makes sense that you go anywhere you can to find the guy, and the guy is the center, and move up another center because that's their position of depth. So that it makes sense in that case. That's why it's Stutzla moving there, because center is your depth.
I like it. It's something that Tim Stutzla did in his rookie season and did so with some success. I mean, for an 18-year-old, and spent most of that year. And a lot of people were clamoring at that stage to get DJ Smith to move him to the center and see what that looks like. But he was really resistant, didn't want to rush that. And by the time the second season rolled around, he was getting, if memory serves, pretty regular looks at center and has not looked back since. And so you got to try anything. And you got depth at center. You don't have depth at left wing. So you make that move. And Stutzla looked fine. I didn't think. I haven't looked at him since he moved over there and said, man, he looks completely out of sorts. That said, I don't think he's had the best start in the world. I think it was Paul McLean that said this. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about Paul McLean's debut in early days as a TSN analyst. But he was saying he could do a lot more by doing less. Mm-hmm. Like Tim Stutzla, particularly in the absence of Brady Tkachuk, probably his best friend on the team and certainly his running mate for a long time. I think with Brady Tkachuk's absence, I think Tim Stutzla thinks that he has to do more than he actually does. And maybe as a result, we're not seeing the best version of Tim Stutzla.
It's a natural thing, though, right? He's a young man who sees a highly productive player go down and says, okay, I got to step up. I got to do more. It's kind of a natural thing, right? I'm trying to fill the void without Brady here, but I still need to produce. And so he wants to do more. But the point is well made and well taken that, yeah, he's better as a guy who just, I don't know what the right term is, but if he could play a consistent 200-foot game, then I could do that with less flash and dash. I would be fine with that. If he goes out every night and he's a plus player or an even player and, picks up a couple of apples, maybe a goal here and there, I'm okay with that versus a night of flash and dash and no goals, right? On an even keel, the production will come. And I think if he'll get there eventually.
He's certainly taking up Brady Tkachuk's penalty minutes in that Edmonton game. He had two slashing penalties, both, they were both brutal. Anytime the stick blade though comes near the hands and the other guy goes owie a little bit, then the referee's calling it 100% of the time. He gets one in overtime, and then Jake Wallman scores in OT. But on both occasions, on both slashing calls to Tim Stutzla, the Sens PK didn't exactly pick him up. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's not going to be an issue, I don't think, for Tim Stutzla moving forward, where you have to worry about his PIMs too much. But, not ideal. Now, the other guy we talked about that we're going to talk about, it's not just one guy. It's the entire blue line right now. On the one hand, Nick Jensen is not off to a great start. I thought that Graham Nichols had a great piece at the Hockey News Ottawa, thn.com/Ottawa, about the underlying numbers for that second pairing of Chabot and Jensen, and specifically Jensen. His numbers out of the gate are not good, which makes you start to wonder, okay, is he all the way back? Is he ever going to be all the way back from hip surgery? And then the other side of the coin, you've got Jordan Spence after that mistake in overtime at the end of the game against the Islanders that cost the Sens the game. Jordan Spence is since then been a healthy scratch. Mm. So is Travis Green being too hard on Spence? Is he giving too much rope to Jensen? What do you think about that right side of the defense right now?
I think both of those statements are true. I think it's been a little hard on Spence, but I also think that there's a little bit of rope being given here to Jensen. I guess the underlying question are Jensen's numbers the way they are because of age, fatigue, not quite ready, not 100%, or are his numbers the way they are because he's getting older and regressing, right? Like, is this now the new Jensen? Or is the old one still available and going to show up at some point? So I think that's a question that needs to be addressed. Obviously, internally, they know more than you or I do as to health and fitness levels and cardio and endurance and whatever else. I'm wondering how much of it has to do with he came back too soon and he's not 100% yet, or how much of it has to do with the fact that he's another year older and maybe he's not quite the same player. I've talked about it enough, Steve. I'm going to say it again. I think Jordan Spence can play in your top four, and I think it's at the expense of Nick Jensen. I would move Zub to play with Chabot. I'd play Spence with Sanderson, and off you go.
looking at some of the stats, the underlying numbers, the heat maps when Jensen is on the ice, the early going has been really, really nasty, like not really unattractive numbers. And those heat maps, I'll be honest, I have a very rudimentary knowledge about how those work, but I do know there's a red and there's a blue, and one is good and one is bad. And right now, Jensen's heat map is very bad. And so hopefully that improves moving forward. Even if they're making an error there, you still want that depth. You still want everybody pulling on the rope. So you want everybody playing well, ideally. And in the early going, it's been a bit of a struggle for Jensen. And I think it's, as we've been talking about with everything else, I think it's too small a sample size to say this is the new Jensen. I think there's got to be, after you have hip surgery, for goodness sake. And you hear him talk about it. He's talking in terms of like, he had his hip resurfaced. He's now got where he had, bone and tendon has now been replaced with finely milled metal in there. And so there's a bit of a Steve Austin $6 million man bionic thing happening there, right? Which of course is an older reference lost on younger viewers.
It's on every day on CHCH at noon, Steve. You can watch it.
Why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be? Anyway, so that's my point. Is that's almost certainly going to take some time before he gets back to where he was in the early portion of last season. I don't know if you necessarily want the last couple of the months of last season of Nick Jensen, the way he was dealing with the pain, the way he was, and getting completely kneaded like Play-Doh on the trainer's table after every single game. Hopefully it'll be better than that guy already. But
this brings to light one of the issues with the whole analytics era. Like analytics started with baseball, and I've always maintained this, that baseball's totally different because it's much more individual. I can look specifically at this guy's analytics against this specific pitcher, or this guy's analytics against all lefties or all fastballs or all sliders, whatever. Your analytics in hockey, though, don't necessarily take into consideration who they're on the ice against. So you always get this term, the analytics darling, and it's usually a fifth or sixth defenseman or a third or fourth liner who's just a little bit better than his station in life. So his stats look really good, but he's playing against lesser opponents. So I take it with a grain of salt when I see the stat lines, the heat maps and everything you just talked about. When I see them for Matt and Paulo and Spence with Clevin versus Jensen and Tkachuk, and they say he's playing in sheltered minutes, right? Clevin and Matt and Paolo and Spence in sheltered minutes. Well, that's got to factor into it, right? So how bad is this discrepancy between the analytics on Jensen to Shabbat and the analytics on the third pair? I don't know.
No, it's a good point. I mean, we might all feel completely differently. Like if Spence is up playing the big minutes, he might be getting caved on a more regular basis, a la Anders Lee in the last minute. And if you drop Jensen down to the final pairing, might be saying, oh, Jensen, my God, he's a godsend. He's unbelievable out there because of the caliber of the opponent. That's a good point for sure. We'll take a timeout on the program. When we come back, we're going to hear from Brady Tkachuk. He held a news conference this week specifically to talk about the status of his thumb surgery. He talks about prognosis and what it was all about. So we'll get to that in a moment. And we'll also start a new feature. We'll do a new feature. It's going to be called Alfie or Lundqvist. Alfie or Lundqvist. It'll be basically a jumping off point to talk about some key Senator topics. And that is coming up after these words.
Celebrate isn't just about making your home look great during the holidays. It's about keeping your home safe too. A well-lit home is a secure home. And the best part, you can instantly change up the vibe. Whether it's for security, for style, or any holiday in between, Celebrate has you covered. Permanent holiday lighting you'll love year-round.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that music can only mean one thing. Now, given it's the inaugural version of Alfie or Lundqvist, and given that most people would know that as the 1970s Canadian game show definition, I guess it could mean a number of things. But in future, you'll hear it and you'll go, that's definitely Alfie or Henquist. See, I haven't got the name down. Alfie or Lundqvist.
Yes. Alfredson or Lundqvist. Which sleeve do you want?
Yeah. So it's basically yes or no. We're going to talk about a number of key Senator issues topics, debates, and we'll decide whether it's Alfie or whether it's Lundqvist. So you're going to ask the questions today, and I'll be ready with my clever sound effects in the background. It'll be Alfie
you
or
got the button there, buddy?
Lundqvist.
You know what? You got the buttons ready? Okay. Here's the first question.
Hang on. Let me make sure I got this ready here.
Hold on.
All right. So I'm going to go. Okay, got it. Go. Hit me.
Okay. Dylan Cousins will score 30 goals this season.
Dylan Cousins will score 30 goals this season.
Probably not.
Alfie.
Got the Alfie on that. The probably not. I got to see 30 goals is so hard to get now in the NHL.
Mm-hmm. But he's out doing well so far. 4-8.
Yeah, it's certainly a nice start, but I think that asking him to do more than he's been doing over the last 2 years, which is, has he had 20 goals in the last 2 years? I don't have the stats in front of me, but to think he can jump up to 30 again, it's something he did that one time. It's certainly possible. He's on pace, but I would say that things will kind of slow down a little bit, and I say probably not.
And I would agree. I think he can get to 25, maybe, but I don't think he gets to 30. I think the team itself, I don't know, will have all that many guys over 30 goals. I'm in agreement with you. Aren't we? We always agree, Steve. We got to keep doing all of these till we get one where we disagree. That would be something for a change.
I'll say one thing about Cousins, that if you see the go on NHL Edge once in a while, his skating speed is way better than I thought. Mm-hmm. And I think you sometimes will have that effect when you see somebody with a kind of, whether it's a lumbering stride or a hitch in their stride, there's an assumption that he's automatically slow. But seeing the stats, Cousins' speed is doing just fine, thanks.
Impressive. Yes, agreed. All right, question 2. You ready?
I'm ready.
Question 2 in the inaugural Alfredson or Lundqvist. Question number 2. Shane Pinto will play for Team USA at the Olympics in February 2026.
Ooh, I'd like to see that. Certainly a chance. He was at the orientation camp. But alas.
Probably not.
I just think that I mean, there's just so much talent on Team USA. And if Pinto keeps this up, obviously, I reserve the right to change my mind by Christmas. But just in the last couple of games, he's still generating those chances, but suddenly snake bitten. It's things that were going in for him in the early going. Last couple of games, not so much. Terrific chances in that Philly game when they really needed him in a very tight, low-scoring game, and they just weren't going in for him. So I think that, he's got to be up over 35 goals to make the Olympic team, or on pace for it. On pace for it, obviously not going to get there because we're going in February. But no, I'd like to see it, and I reserve the right to change my mind. But here and now, I don't think he'll be able to overcome the depth that America has right now.
I think he makes it. I think he's in 13th or 14th forward. I partially what convinced me was watching the Edmonton game. He did an excellent job with Draisaitl and McDavid. I think Shane Pinto is going to make the U.S. Olympic team. 13th, 14th forward. I think you're allowed it. There's extra bodies allowed for this. I think he's in, and I can see him working his way into the lineup and working his way up the lineup as the tournament goes on. I think he's there.
Okay, now you're getting into a changing my mind mode if we're talking about him making it as a 15th or 16th forward,
well, I don't think it goes
on a bigger roster. Well, whatever it is, if it's bigger than NHL rosters, which I'm not sure one way or the other, to be honest, then I might be willing to sneak Pinto on there for sure. But if it's just an NHL roster with the usual maybe 13 or 14 at the most as far as forwards go, then I'm still sticking with my Alfieism.
We know we're going to address this again when we get 1 week away from the announcements in early December, right?
Yes,
all right.
Absolutely.
Number 3 in our inaugural Alfredson or Lundqvist. Right now, the Senators are 3-4-1, 7 points in 8 games. Coming up, they're in Washington and Boston, and they're at Chicago. To close out the month, the last game of the month would be Thursday at Calgary, home against Calgary. The Senators will be a 500 team by November 1st, and will stay above for the rest of the year.
Yes, sir!
Absolutely. And that's, by the way, not Henrik Lundqvist. You threw a curveball at us there. That's Vern Lundqvist with the yes, sir. And Jack Nicklaus's big putt from, 86?
86, 17th green.
Crazy. Some great golf moments there. Vern was the best, or is the best. He's just retired now. The reason I'm thinking there is, they're only a game under now. And at 3-4-1, you've got Boston and Chicago, which I think are both teams that are beatable. And, maybe even the Capitals, the way they're playing right now, I think that I don't think anything's necessarily clicked, or like Giroux said, still a long way to go. But I feel like that yes, they will get to 500 by November 1st.
Yeah, it's getting there and staying there is going to be the tough part. But it's that Calgary game too on the 30th or 31st. I mean, immediately after that, November 1st, they play the Habs. That might be a tough night. But yeah, I think the Boston, Chicago back to back, and then Calgary really helps. They should be. And what were they? We were 2-4. No, were they 2-6? Whatever they were. And now suddenly, they're 3-4-1. So yeah, they're going to get to 500 by November 1st, and I think they will get above it and stay above it for the rest of the season. So
our final question.
Yes, actually, I have a fifth one, Steve, but which I didn't tell you about ahead of time. Here's your fourth one. Carter Yakemchuk will play his first game in the NHL by December 1st.
Easy.
Probably not.
I just think Yakemchuk is. I mean, he's not ripping it up in Belleville. He has 2 points in 5 games, and I think that for his own good, I think he needs a year under his belt with the pro ranks. I think if there's an injury, then I reserve the right to change my mind, or a couple of injuries, I should say. But the way things look right now, I don't see any need for it. So I think the Sens are interested in it, nor do I think he's earned that right just yet. So he's still figuring it out. It's obviously an adjustment process. And hopefully it's not taking him down a road where he's just a average prospect now, because he's spending so much time thinking defense first, because he was a blue chip prospect for his offense. Since the Sens asked him to change and rebalance a little bit, he hasn't been a guy that I feel must start for this team. He needs more development. He needs to figure out his new way of playing. And so I think it's good for him to stay down beyond December 1st. And I think it's good for the team, because I don't think he necessarily upgrades them anywhere on that right side, which is plenty of depth right now.
Yeah, I just keep looking at the right side, and I'm thinking the way Jensen's looking right now, again early, the apparent possible lack of confidence in Spence, Matt and Powell being the other guy. I'm thinking that a right D might be the first call up. Get into a little bit of a funk here, and you want to make some changes. And yes, with an injury, I can see it happening. I just don't think it's December 1st. I think it's probably January 1st, like maybe late December. He gets a call up. He'll play games before this season is out, but the first one not before December 1st. I agree with you. And our fifth and final question, Steve. The Toronto Blue Jays will win the World Series.
Yes, sir!
I'm shocked, Steve.
It's a populist sound effect. Am I putting a lot of money on the Blue Jays to win with Shohei Ohtani and the bats that the LA Dodgers boast and the kind of dough that they spend? No, I'm not putting money on that. But I think it would have been a downer for everybody to fire a probably not at them. So I'm going to go with yes, sir.
Good for you. Did you know in 1985, Major League Baseball expanded the league championship series from 5 games to 7, right? So it's a 7-game series. We just saw 2 7-game series, the Dodgers and Milwaukee, and the Jays and Seattle. In the years since 1985, only 5 times has the World Series featured one team that swept the LCS and one team that took 7 games to win the LCS. This is only the 5th time that this has happened. 6th time. In all of those 5 times, the team that won the World Series was the team that won the LCS in 7.
Interesting. So I guess we know where you're going.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
Hey, they're
I
2
was
for 2 in the
prob-
World Series.
I was leaning on probably not, but okay.
Well, your stat was building up to a yes.
I know, but I was still originally leaning to probably not.
Probably not.
Your official vote has been registered, and I'm way more popular than you right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's they're the dark horse. They're definitely the underdog, but
Oh yeah.
it's in a short series, anything can happen, and we know how magically hot Toronto's bats can get, and so that's why I'll go with a yes. And again, because I don't want to be a downer at the end of the program. Coach Nag doesn't mind. Coach Nag does not mind.
Okay, yeah. And please let us know in the comments how you feel about Lundqvist or Alfredson, and send us topics if you like. We'd be happy to give our opinions on whatever you'd like to hear.
Yeah, sounds great. I think if the Blue Jays lose the World Series, it'll be the most depressing Blue Jays thought process I will have had since I went down to Toronto. I think I want to say it's the ALCS. It might have been just a divisional series, but they're playing the Twins and they get eliminated that night.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was Mike Pagliarulo or something like that. Hits a home run to end the Jays season. And so we have to drive back same night in Ottawa, and my buddy ran out of gas.
Oh.
And this is before cell phones. And so we're in the middle of nowhere on the 401, like going through ditches to get to a house to see if we can use a phone. We're completely stranded with no phone. And that was my depressing Blue Jay moment. Not only did the Jays lose, but we felt like losers all the way home on a trip that ended up taking about 10 hours by the time we got our car collected and things. Anywho,
do we want to talk about Brady?
Yeah, we want to finish up the show with an update from Brady Tkachuk, right from the horse's mouth. And he sounds like he's in good spirits. Held a news conference this week. Had what looked like a small brace on his right hand that was protecting his injured thumb. And this is what Brady had to say. As he talked for a long time, but here's a couple of minutes of it.
It was kind of shitty that it happened, but it's part of the game. So, first time going through it, so it's going to be a new experience for me, but something that going to tackle head on and be better because of it.
Well, this has to be disappointing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's all I want to do is be out there. You train so hard, train so long in the summer that felt the best I've ever felt coming to this year, and just a little bump in the road. But now take this time to not sulk in it, but when I come back, that I don't want to just be status quo. I feel like there's going to be a level to my game that I know I'll be able to get to with these next couple weeks.
How's your recovery been so far, and how have you been passing your downtime away from the ice?
It's been a long couple days, but it's everything's going in the right direction. It's today was the first day of able to start to do stuff, and I feel like that's going to keep me sane. But I mean, whenever the guy's playing, you're not playing. It's all you want to do is be out there and go to battle with them, help them out, and so that's probably been the toughest part is not being able to be around in those moments, and but I feel like it can help from afar and just try to stay around and throw some things that I see from watching and but no, I think it's going to be tough, but the guys have been so great and we've always been talking about the game and talking about different stuff like that, so hasn't been much of a change. Just want to be out there helping them out.
Sorry, when you mentioned it was the finger, but was it your thumb?
It was my thumb. So just must have went in the board funny, and happens.
What can you tell us about the surgery? How long it lasted, and just maybe as much detail about what they did?
Yeah, I mean they've fully repaired the ligament. I think it was fully torn and restabilized the joint. So I think I was under for a nice little 2-hour nap. So I was pretty fired up about that. But it was good. They said it went awesome, went very smooth, and I went to New York yesterday for checkup, and they're very happy with how it went.
There is Sens captain Brady Tkachuk with a full update on the thumb injury.
Must have been pretty disappointing, eh?
Oh, see. You ask questions to draw out the information you're looking for. Yeah, that didn't seem like. Anyway, whatever.
Julian McKenzie had a good question, though. He did well. And Claire was good, too. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so go ahead.
I'm not here to
TK.
measure out our colleagues' caliber of questions. Anyway, that is Brady Tkachuk, and it's frustrating because it's just this one fluky moment in time. A lot of things had to happen for that thumb to be injured. Like, even if everything happened exactly the same way that Tkachuk decides to kind of go inside on Yossi by the post to go after the guy, and Yossi makes the same decision to give him a little cross check in the back, and he goes into the boards. Like, if he, if he goes in just a slightly different way, maybe with a closed fist instead of an open palm or whatever it is, just so many things had to happen there for this stupid injury that's going to be quite costly to the Senators, losing him for 6 to 8 weeks, which are down to 5 to 7 now as time marches on. But yeah, it's a frustrating thing that just this fluky thing can happen the way it did.
Yeah. And I don't know what else to add to that, Steve. You're bang on. Like, that's all I kept thinking at the time was if his hands were closed and he went like this, he could have cushioned the blow with his arms properly like a shock absorber and nothing happens. But thankfully, you know what? It could have been a lot worse, right? It could have been a broken wrist. It could have been a fracture in the arm. It's just a thumb and shouldn't take that long to heal. We're down to 5 to 7, as you said, and shouldn't affect stick handling and shooting. I wouldn't think that much. He should be okay, as opposed to a bigger joint or a bigger bone. I think he'll be okay. The Sens just got to weather their way through this. And was he back probably December 1st, I guess, around there, or late November, early December? Can't come back soon enough.
Yeah, for sure. I think that is the big thing, that fitness won't even be an issue. You'll be able to get right in there. You'll be able to train, do everything that he needs to do except shoot and stick handle. Those things are just off the table for the next month completely. He'll probably ease into it at about that point. And so, yeah, I mean, that one part is a good thing. He did talk about that in the news conference because it went on for about 15 minutes. And he said that, he knew something was wrong right away, but continued to play. But as he kept playing, shooting, stick handling got harder and harder. And finally, he realized on the breakaway that he had in the game, he basically had the shot, as he called it, was such a muffin that he realized, okay, this is no good. And he was at the stage now where he could barely hold his stick. And so that was the time to shut it down. And, maybe he wasn't being upfront with the training staff. I don't know. No, I'm fine. But he continued to play and hopefully didn't worsen it in that time. That didn't come up in the news conference. But, that will be the big thing. When can he start shooting and stick handling? When that happens, he can ease into that'll be the big thing, because he'll be able to do everything else, and that's a good thing. So he should be able to hit the ground running when he is able to return. A couple of NHL things before we wrap up the program. Wasn't that a great scene? I mean, whether you hate Brad Marchand or not, to see him go back into Boston and the reception the Bruins fans gave him, they did the standard video, but I don't know if I've ever seen a player get that emotionally overwhelmed in the middle of a hockey game, by the way, by his old fans giving him a standing ovation, and the great video they had. Brad Marchand was visibly touched by the whole thing, and clearly a special run in Boston. But wasn't that a cool scene?
I thought it was awesome. Arguably America's best sports town. It was some of the best fans around, and the fans realized that it wasn't Brad Marchand saying, "Get me out of here, I want out of here." It was a decision made by management to move on from him, so there's no ill will, or at least not a lot of it. I thought it was great, and when I'm watching a hockey game, if I want to get interrupted by a Brad Marchand moment, I much prefer that one to Brad Marchand giving coffee to a teddy bear.
I said to myself the first time I saw it, I said he did an amazing job there.
He did.
That's a fun video. It's a fun commercial, but my God, at the 1,000 mark, that's pretty much enough, Tim Hortons. You can stop showing us that ad. I think we've all seen it way too many times, but he did a good job on it. But I agree with you completely. I've had enough of seeing that thing. And the last thing I want to mention, and I know you like the nostalgia of the game. I thought Carolina versus Colorado, or shall I say the Quebec Nordiques versus the Hartford Whalers on Thursday night. That was one of the most beautiful hockey games I've seen in years from a fashion standpoint, as they wore the colors of the cities they stole the NHL team from.
Yeah, I don't,
That was
if I'm a citizen of Quebec City or Hartford, Connecticut, I'm probably not that thrilled about it, but I thought it was awesome. Like Colorado was celebrating, what is it, like 25 years, 20 years, 30 years? I don't even know how many years it is.
It's
They're
30.
celebrating the anniversary of moving to Denver. And they had decided that they were going to wear this. They're doing it, I think, 9 times this year. Carolina pulls out the Hartford gear every once in a while, and they are doing it 3 times this year or 4 times. And they say, yeah, well, let's do it on that night. And there's one more. They're going to play a game in Carolina this year too, as well. I thought the only thing missing was the Hartford Whalers should have had the Cooperall pants on. That would have made it even better. See the Cooperalls.
Yeah, a lot of people forget the Whalers wore them too. The Flyers did, but so did the Whalers. That was a regrettable fashion era when you get down to it. But I certainly love the green versus that baby blue. And it's not like it doesn't happen in other sports. I mean, you see the Titans wear the Houston Oilers gear every once in a while. And I don't care about this. Like, I love the nostalgia of it. I love the scene. The one I don't like in this area is the Expos. When the Washington Nationals wear the Expos uniforms, I say to myself, that's beautiful, but at the same time, hands off. You stole our team. Beat it. I don't care for that from that perspective. So I bet Nordique and Whaler fans don't love it, but it sure is beautiful to see these great old nostalgic moments.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, and you brought it up. I was going to say, yeah, the only time we don't like it is when the Washington Nationals do it. Agreed.
Yeah.
And you know, for little known fact, Steve, 2 years before the Expos left Montreal, Major League Baseball had a vote amongst the teams as to contraction. Do you remember when they were talking about contraction? And it was the Expos and I think it was the Minnesota Twins. We're going to contract 2 teams. They had a vote. Every team but 2 voted yes for contraction. The Blue Jays voted for contraction.
Wow. I didn't
I
know
hope that doesn't affect your World Series thoughts, Steve.
I don't care for it. I'd like to see some NHL contraction, to be honest.
I'm
32
there. I'm there.
32 is way too many. So long as it doesn't affect the Senators. Though I think if you polled the masses, as with the Blue Jays Expos example, I think the Sens would make a lot of NHL fan bases wish list of teams that should go. So careful what you wish for, I guess. Yeah. I remember on a sitcom one day, it was like, just to give you the idea of America's attitude toward Winnipeg, I think it was Mad About You with Paul Reiser, and he goes up to a guy and he asks him about scalping tickets or something like that. And just randomly, they're like in New York City, and the guy goes to him, "What am I, from Winnipeg?" You know, so there's the attitude of the American sports fan toward Winnipeg and likely Ottawa as well. With that, we'll take our leave, ladies and gentlemen. As always, we do appreciate you being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Subscribe away. If you're enjoying the show, that's all you have to do. Hit that little button. Follow, subscribe, wherever you're watching or listening from. That'd be awesome. Don't forget as well that our website is sensnationhockey.com, and you can check out the hockey news. That would be appreciated as well. It's thn.com/Ottawa. Everything you want to know about the Ottawa Senators, from just game reports, behind the scenes stuff, lots of interviews and things. Check that out as well. thn.com/Ottawa, as mentioned. Gregg, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Go Blue Jays. And you know what? What we should do? We should finish up with this. We should finish up with the Springer Dinger.
Oh, okay. I was thinking either that or OK Blue Jays. Springer Dinger works too.
I hate the OK Blue Jays.
Oh, I love it.
Let's play ball.
Let's play ball.
Not as bad as the Lynx. Remember the Ottawa Lynx? I think it was Gail Gavin.
I was a season ticket holder in the beginning, but I couldn't tell you what they did. What did they do?
Yeah, Gail Gavin had one, and the song was fine. It was just the lyrics was, "Load 'em up, strike 'em out, Ottawa Lynx. You know what I'm talking about."
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Why would you want to load it up? Load 'em up and then strike 'em out. I assume you want that. You mean that offensively and then defensively in the next half inning. I'm not sure, but it sounded like you were intentionally walking the bases loaded. Anyway, with that, we'll take a night. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Thanks for being with us here on the Sens Nation podcast, and we'll talk to you next time.